Welcome to our Posh podcast, where we provide a safe place for everyday people to share their amazing stories, and where our mission is to take something away from every single episode. And today's episode, we are going to learn more about the bipolar disorder movie that our special guest Jason B directed, produced, starred in,
wrote the music
for. I mean, unbelievable.
Sang,
yeah.
edited.
Movie is called Donovan, and we're gonna go behind the scenes a little bit and talks about some of the scenes and what they meant to him in real life and some of that. But before that, I want to introduce myself. I'm Gabrielle, and I'm here with my two beautiful co-hosts, my daughter Marcella.
Hello.
And beautiful Whitley.
Hello.
And our DJ technician Spider.
Hello.
You're beautiful too, man.
I know.
He is our Charlie, but that we always say, Charlie's Angels. So, please give us the little synopsis one more time about the movie Donovan.
Yeah. Donovan is about a recently divorced advertising director who tries to be a good father to his young son while being torn apart by his own bipolar disorder.
And please go to the episode before this one, because you learn a lot about Jason himself. Yeah. And
it's based on my own story of dealing with bipolar disorder and not so much my diagnosis, but the aftermath of the diagnosis and trying to come to terms with that.
Mm. I feel like a lot of people, when they get diagnosed, they don't want to take it serious enough. I have a very close friend that is bipolar as well.
Yeah, I remember going to the doctor. I don't remember when it was, because you never go in expecting that kind of diagnosis. But I remember leaving it and going in the parking lot with this newfound label and feeling like I was betrayed by my own brain and wondering how I was going to move forward and trust the decisions made by this organ that's been lying to me for so long. And then at the same time understanding that these thoughts that I'm having now about doubt are coming from the same organ I'm doubting. So it's a whole lot to process and wrap my head around in a car in a parking lot.
That's a lot.
I did want to ask one more question. What eventually made you go to the doctor to get that diagnosis? Like what happened?
The first time? It was just because I was so all over the place. I'd be at bars with friends and we're having a good time and, drinking and laughing, and somebody would just say the wrong thing, and it wasn't even an intentful wrong thing. It was just, you could say that bird is red, and I'd take it the wrong way, and I'd snap and I'd start screaming at people and acting like an asshole, and then I'd get sad about it and start crying in the bar because I'd just treated my friends bad, and then I'd start laughing because that's funny. I was all over the place. So finally I decided there's got to be something going on here. There's just not these normal people that are here with me. Nobody's fucking crying in here but me, so I need to go talk to somebody.
Right. Kind of just behavior that's not the normal
behavior that no one else is doing.
Yeah. Were you married already?
No,
so this is even before you got married.
Right.
And then when you got married, did that rear its ugly head in the marriage? I mean,
yeah. It rears its ugly head everywhere. It reared its ugly head in this marriage, which is a big reason why it's no longer.
Right.
And I think at some point people can decide, if people have that decision-making power to live with this or not live with it, I would think most people would choose not to live with it.
Is it exhausting for yourself? Like, do you realize when it's happening? Do you, like, today, how are you with all of that?
Sometimes I realize when it's happening. Most of the time, if it's super extreme, I realize it. If it's not quite super extreme, I don't. And if it's just touching it, sometimes I do. There's little things that I notice. Like if I start talking really fast and my speech is slurred, I'll catch on to that and I'll notice that, that's a bit of mania peeking through. But, I've been on my medication pretty solid since August. So I'm in a good place from that perspective.
Does that medication help you a lot?
It helps with the chemicals in my brain to make them, I don't want to say calm, but to a point where I can process thoughts and I can control the behaviors because the chemicals are aligning correctly.
Okay.
Balanced, yeah. Yeah.
Well, with that, let's go, because I feel like there's some things that we're going to get through from the behind the scenes of the movie. So the movie starts out written and directed by you, which is so crazy. I mean, that
and my
is
voiceover,
so unbelievable.
When you're not manic. Sound
I
just
was
like him,
wondering
didn't I?
that. I was like, that's you too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. So I mean, it starts out with you saying that if you're not manic, you don't remember what it feels like to be manic.
Yeah.
You don't?
Not really. So a lot of times whenever you get in that manic mania craziness, it's hard to remember the previous episode so that it's hard to connect the dots that this is what's going on because, if I notice slurred speech, that's one thing. But if I start acting out or my behavior starts getting crazy or I'm like, find things that are really, really funny that aren't really that funny or just out of control. I don't remember the previous time I did that, so it's hard to connect those dots and go, I'm in a manic moment.
Is there a lot of anger? Do you get angry too, or is it just funny, out of control? Or
it's all of the above.
all of it?
Yeah. Yeah, the irritability, anger, humor. I'm sure I drive people crazy whenever I start laughing about shit that is inappropriate to laugh at because I've just gone off and screamed at somebody or something. It's funny. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
While I was watching this in the very beginning, I made myself a note because I was going to ask you, how did you pick the actors? Because it has to be really hard to pick an actor to play you. Because
that was the hardest part, was finding that guy.
And then it turns out you played yourself, which is so crazy. I was like, I literally went on your Facebook and I went, no, it's him. I think it's him. And Marcel was like, no, it's not
I
him.
did not think so. I mean, now I see it, but I think when I first met you at the boardroom and then watching that, I was like, I don't think that's the same person.
Again, it's because I'm so nice in person. So it's hard to believe that this guy is so not put together.
I think anyone. You could look at people and you would never know.
Yeah.
Did you always know you would play that? Or did you think
it was always in the cards? Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. Because, there was a point where the decision could be made where I could sell this movie off and they could get some known actor to play it. But I knew that no one was going to play this role like I could because I lived it.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to shortchange the role for a name actor.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, I was like, because I'm nobody, that actually lends credibility to the story because then Donovan becomes anyone. And you're not watching like if they got in Leonardo DiCaprio, for example, you're not watching this movie going, wow, Leonardo DiCaprio is really good in this and he's going crazy and blah, 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 blah. This now with this guy that you've never seen or heard of, you're watching this going, this could be my dad, this could be my brother, this could be my friend, this could be my coworker.
I see that.
Because I'm not focused on who that person is.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Now, the craziness becomes dangerous because it feels so good. It feels too good to care.
Yeah.
Explain that a little bit. Like you get so crazy that you don't care about anything.
The part of what comes with that craziness is this feeling of euphoria and invincibility, and it's like a superpower, and like I can get away with shit, and I can do things that people can't do, and that's what feels good. And then you don't realize that that's actually leading to the danger. You're walking up a cliff and you're about to step off of it, and you don't notice it.
Like really, like that could happen. Like
well, yeah,
I'm just
could
saying,
actually
in reality,
happen. But
like,
I was making an analogy, but that could actually happen.
actually happen.
Yeah, I mean, you could go onto a roof and think you could fly if you get high enough off that euphoria and try. A lot of suicides aren't because of depression and the hopelessness. A lot of them are because people get that euphoria and they don't know where to stop and they just keep pushing. And a lot of times cutters do that too. They we were talking about this in the previous episode where it's something that pain is something to focus on to get the emotions to calm down. But a lot of times people are doing that and they just go a little too deep.
Oh, wow. I did not ever hear that before.
But like
That's
one
very
of
interesting.
my really close friends who, when she has had manic episodes, like one time she stepped on the highway in front of an 18-wheeler, like just because she could. And she thought, she came this close. And then another time she drove down the highway with like 120 miles an hour, throwing her stuff out the window, purse and everything. Like there's not rational thinking at all.
Yeah, I've done stuff, and I didn't have a purse, but I did stuff like that.
Like, what did you do?
Well, one night, we were talking about this too, that I'd get upset at bars, and then I'd do, feel guilty or whatever. One of my friends wanted my keys because I drank too much, and we were in the parking lot, and I wouldn't give him my keys. So he puts me in this full Nelson headlock thing, and which was a bad idea, and I slammed my head backwards, and I busted him in the nose. And he let go, and he's like, well, fuck you then. And then I saw what I did, so I started crying, and I got really upset about it. And I walked across the parking lot, and this bar was off the highway, and there was an exit ramp at the end of the parking lot. And I walked out to the end of the exit ramp, and I laid down in the middle of the street, and just,
Wow.
And they came, dragged me out, told me I was a fucking idiot.
But that wasn't from being drunk. That was from...
It's just from everything,
Yeah, it's just all...
Yeah, sure, the drinking plays a part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's... Most drunk people wouldn't do that,
No.
True. Yeah.
When you're not depressed, it's hard to remember what it feels like to be depressed.
Yeah, that's a really hard one too, especially for me, because I can slip into a depression and have no idea I'm there. And again, it's just I don't remember what that last episode was. I don't remember the warning signs. I don't remember what that felt like. I just slide into this conscious coma and don't know it.
Do you, we talk a lot about this on here, like with other guests, like when they feel depressed, they don't open their blinds, they just stay in their room, they want to have the covers over their head. Is that what, do you do that, or does it come out in different ways?
Mine is just that I'm also really good at wearing masks. So I put the mask on and I go do the day-to-day activities, but I'm just not there. I'm just an empty shell. So if I'm working, and I work from home, so I'm hardly ever around people. So it's hard to say what that social interaction becomes because I'm
do
not.
you maybe think that is not good too, because you're not
possibly.
around
I'm around people right now. That's good.
I'm just thinking that keeps you, then it's easier to
Even
fall
when I
into
was
that.
working though, it's just the empty shell, and the mask is even stronger. So I just put on nothing's wrong. People don't know when I'm down. They just don't.
They don't.
No.
So do you open your blinds when you're at home?
Sometimes I don't. Yeah.
Open the blinds always.
Right.
always open the blinds. Let the light in. Always do it first thing in the morning.
Right.
Yeah, we do that.
It's a huge thing.
Well, right now, I don't have those blinds, so.
You just have
blinds?
windows.
Right.
That's good. Don't
What?
get any blinds.
Right.
Oh, you don't have blinds? Oh,
Not
you
right now.
moved somewhere new?
Yeah.
Got it. Don't put blinds up. Black cloud of nothingness. It's foreign. You think you get used to it, but you don't.
Yeah.
And you miss your son. Is that still today? Like, have you gotten that handled, that you see them not all the time? Is that something that you got used to at all, or do you never get used to it?
I got used to the arrangement with my first son. We've been doing that for so long.
Mm-hmm.
Right now we're transitioning, figuring it out. I just left the house last week, so.
Then
Oh, wow.
the little one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're trying to figure that
Figure
out.
that out. But with the older one, you got used to it, because that's in the movie showing
Yeah.
that was really, really hard for you.
Yeah.
So now having to do that again.
It's hard. I was with him every day.
Right.
I was essentially stay-at-home dad, and I picked him up from school every day, and I took him to his tennis. I took him everywhere.
Ooh, where does he
I
play
don't get
tennis?
to do that anymore. Where does he?
Mm-hmm.
He's taking lessons, so he's not actually.
But where?
At his house.
Oh. So you don't get to see him every day anymore?
Right. Because I don't live there.
So who takes care of him now?
I guess she figures it out.
Whoa. So that's an everyday thing now, you don't see him?
Well,
Like,
again,
I
I
mean,
just left
you
last
just
week,
left
so
last
we're
week.
figuring it out. I'll see him on Thursday. I'll pick him up Thursday and Friday, and I'll have him the weekend and until Thanksgiving. So I'll get to see him a lot then.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh, I bet that's hard. Now you have to do it again. But
Yeah.
you did it the first time. You can do it again.
Oh yay!
Yay.
Can't wait.
Ah.
I have a question about the mask thing. So whenever you said no one knows like when I'm down and all that.
Well,
is-
unless it's like right now in this situation, it's pretty
Well,
obvious. But
No, like, is it a conscious decision where you're like not wanting people to know, or is it just happen?
sometimes,
Yeah.
But I've gotten so used to wearing it that sometimes it's just natural instinct.
Yeah. I didn't know if it was like something you thought about or I don't
Like
know.
forcing the smile.
Yeah.
on
I
purpose.
didn't-
And I might be now. I don't know because again, I've done it for so long. It's just
Yeah.
it's what I do.
Wow.
So in the movie, you showed like you keep looking at your medicine, but you don't take it.
Yeah,
And then you're lying to your therapist about it.
yeah.
Like you're great.
Bad boy. I'm such a naughty boy.
And you don't know why you have to take meds every single night. Like you don't think you have to. And that's a
Right.
big thing too with bipolar people.
It's a huge thing. That's probably the number one thing
Yeah.
with bipolar people is we don't like taking our medication. And when we do and we feel like we're better, we stop taking it
Right.
because we're better now and we don't need it. And it's a whole vicious cycle.
Right, because when you are on, but it also, I know for a fact, it takes a while to be on the correct combination of medication. So
Totally
that
trial and
gets
error,
very,
too.
and that gets very taxing too.
Yeah.
And so once you are, though, you're supposed to stay on it.
Right.
And then it's really good.
That's what I hear.
Yeah. And when you are with the psychiatrist, a new one, you, he says 3 or 4 psychiatrists before me, you don't want to talk about your parents, and you just you basically don't want to get better, actually, or do you not want to accept the
Yeah, because there's a denial that there's anything
denial.
wrong anyway.
Right.
So why bother talking about that shit when there's nothing going on? That's the mentality right there.
right.
Yeah, and I'm also underlining the fact there was more to that that scene, and there were scenes around it that had to get cut because the movie got too damn long. But they were talking. It underlines and talks about how hard it is to find a good psychiatrist. You know,
Right.
it's not just that. It's not about there are bad psychiatrists out there. I mean, there are, but it's not just about that. It's about finding the right fit
Mm-hmm.
and the right person to work with you, and that gels with you. And so it was kind of underlining that, but that ended up. I mean, the first cut of this movie was 2 hours and 10 minutes long. So we were like, for the first time
stuff out.
filmmaker, nobody's gonna sit through that damn thing.
Right.
So we cut it down to 1:40, and
So in the movie, you look like you're super, super successful and nice car, nice houses. Like you're not
Mhm.
wanting for anything. Is that true? Was that true? Is that true?
It no. But what I wanted to do was take the idea of a character that wasn't so relatable on an everyday basis. You know, like Steve Jobs, right? Highly successful. The dude that founded Apple. You know, no one can relate to him because he's so successful and so smart and driven and everything. But the second it came out that he had cancer, suddenly Steve Jobs is relatable. People understand because he has cancer. So that's kind of the angle I was going. It was like the opposite of Rocky, where Rocky is this everyday guy that everybody can relate to. Everybody understands the struggles. Everybody understands that everyday thing. I wanted to take somebody that you didn't quite understand, but in the end, show these things that he's struggling with that you really do understand underneath the surface. But he's got this mask, and part of that mask is the car and the house and the success and all that goes with it, making him seem unrelatable. And then show that behind the closed doors, whenever he breaks down in crying because he hears kids playing outside his door, and it makes him miss his son even more, that's relatable, that people get that.
But they do. It's very cool how you explain that now. When your first wife and you got divorced, it said she took the house and everything in it. Is that true?
No, actually, I ended up with the first house, but now it would be true. The second one has the house and everything in it.
All right.
I barely got a damn car because mine was totaled.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But you got the wine collection.
No, I didn't. I didn't even get that.
Oh no. That is something I want to ask you though. In the movie, it shows a lot of drinking. I mean, drinking, even at work, like at your desk. Is that true?
That was true then. Yeah. It's, that's all falls into that whole self-medication thing where he's in denial that there's something wrong, but at the same time, there really is something wrong. So he's drowning it with alcohol because it makes him feel better in that moment. And especially in that industry, the advertising industry, it was nothing for people to have beers or hard liquor at their desk while they're doing an ad campaign. I mean, it's just what we did.
That's interesting.
People don't smoke in buildings anymore, so nobody's smoking. We're drinking. Instead.
Wow.
So it was also underlying. That culture of advertising is very driven by, hey, let's go have a drink, and that's how we get our work
some
done.
ideas.
Yeah.
Did you use any other substances to like help with that, or drugs or anything like that, or just drinking?
Well, recently nothing but drinking, but when I was younger, I did other stuff.
Yeah. Well, and when we had Ashley Cook on, the therapist, a long time ago, she said that there are certain things that if you even smoke weed can release something in your brain that could have been dormant.
Oh, yeah.
So like you might have that and you not know until you do something, which is crazy. I was like, I just listened to her episode and was like,
that's fine.
It's scary.
And I can relate to that. I mean, that I think back to some of the stuff that I did do and the behaviors afterwards that I could probably
agree
align with that. Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Lithium. They always, that's like, talk about that because I know that's a drug that they give you.
It's a mood stabilizer.
Mood stabilizer, yeah. But does it make you feel?
I hated that shit.
Yeah, my friend hated it so much too.
Some people swear by it, but oh my God. And that's the thing too with these medications. What works for me may not work for someone else. Yeah. And you have the opposite reaction just because, and nobody really knows why. There's no blood test you can take that says, yeah, you do well with lithium or anything like that.
What happened with you?
So with lithium, I would sit in my chair and drool and not do anything and stare at the TV that wasn't even on. And I would think to myself, I really want to get up and like run around this room and do something fun. And I'm not going to.
It's like paralyzing, I guess.
Yeah, it sucked. Oh. And then whenever I went to bed, I'd start getting tremors in my calves and my hands would start, tremor, whatever the hell that is. And it'd wake me up. So I'd start to fall asleep and then I'd be like, fuck.
Oh my gosh, that's terrifying.
No.
Yeah. And if you take too much of it, it can become toxic in your system. So I don't know if that's where I was or not, but I was like, get me off this shit. I'm done.
Good for you, though, to recognize that that's not normal.
So when you go to the new psychiatrist because your ex-wife demands it because she wants to make sure you're stable so you can have your son all the time.
That didn't actually happen either.
That didn't?
I don't think you can actually do that legally, but I needed some way to get him into the psychiatrist because like there's no way this particular character is going to go to a psychiatrist.
Right. Yeah. right.
Good,
right.
Smart.
And then he writes you another prescription and he says functional, and you are like such clinical terms, which is true though.
Yeah.
I mean, you see that over and over, and they just write another prescription.
I do like your doctor though, and when he says it more like normal.
Yeah.
I forgot what he said.
Not as fucked up. Yeah.
That's pretty
good. So
good.
the doctor is actually based on my real life psychiatrist, and he is that quirky and funny and
dry kind of
and good.
And it's
I
good
love
for
it.
you because that seems to be what you would connect with best. And not
well,
the,
and you know, he's one of those type where if I'm in a playful mood or if I'm stable, for lack of a better word, he'll mess with me. You know, I'll come in and he loves making fun of my name, Mr. B, and making some weird freaking random movie reference and goofing around. But if I'm in there and I'm just destroyed, he's also the type that turns that off and like precision surgeon. I mean, it's incredible to watch.
I like hearing that there's good ones because in our on Friday we did a real life therapy session in here with one of our dear friends who battled with addiction and bipolar. She is bipolar. And her therapist was here with her and they did it. But she's very personable also. It was very brave of both of them.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa.
It's amazing.
Yeah. And they did it in here and it was just kind of almost like your therapist on the movie. Just very relatable, easier to talk to and not so rigid as far as like a doctor, I guess.
Right.
Do you see him all the time or once a week or how does that
No,
work?
I see. So I have two on my team.
Okay.
I have my psychiatrist who the movie was based off of, and he does the medication, and we do talk, but he's not so much about therapy.
Okay.
But he digs into me and figures out, you know, if there's depression or like the last time I went, he was asking me a multitude of questions, and he's like, you know, I understand you're in this situation, you're sad, but can you differentiate the sadness from depression? And I was like, no. So he starts asking me these questions, and we, you know, navigate through all that. And he's like, well, I think there's still enough depression there that we need to manage that and up my dosage on the antidepressants so that I can work better through everything going on. Aside from that, I have a therapist that I go see every week.
Okay.
And she's amazing too. I just started seeing her in August. And the first thing she said to me was, don't be a dick.
To her?
To me.
I mean,
She said that to me.
To people.
Well, to my wife.
Oh.
Yeah. Because I was telling her, you know, I mean, a relationship isn't destroyed by one person, but you know, I own half of that dissolution of the marriage, and in talking to her what, you know, I had done, which is not wonderful stuff. I mean, you know, just I was a dick. That's what she said. Don't be a dick. And she's like, what can I say? I'm a tough bitch. I was like, this is apparently what I need. So.
Hey, you take it though. That's good.
Yeah.
You admit to it. That's good.
Right.
Those are all great things.
I think that's why she
People
said it,
don't.
because she knew I'd admit to it.
Right. In the movie, there is the pretty blonde that sits down at the table
Yeah.
in the restaurant with your son. Did that happen in real life?
No.
I didn't think
I mean,
so.
I would have some serious game if it did, but no.
Was she
Now-
the one from the bar?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I thought
Yeah,
I
too.
was
and-
like,
Again, in having to cut some things out, she actually worked at the bar, and it just didn't come across, and cutting things out. So that bar was the same bar as the restaurant.
oh,
We shot that down at Victor Tango's.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, they've got that one side that's a bar, and then over here is the restaurant. But the way that it ended up, it looked like two different places. I was like, fuck it. At this point, you know, there's nothing you can do about it. So
I thought it was kind of cool because to me it was almost like she was looking for you. Like
Right.
I found out you made a
Right,
lot of
and-
money.
and I
Yeah,
thought
that's
that
what
too.
I
So I was
thought.
like,
Gold
I was like,
digger.
Yeah,
it works
gold
either
digger.
way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
It
whatever.
went well.
yeah.
Now, I have a question. When I say this, I don't want you to take offense to it or anything.
If
I'm
my
just
therapist can tell me to stop being a dick, I'm pretty sure I can handle your question.
So in the movie, we see you having an amazing time with your son. And I mean, he's so sweet. You guys get along so great. You spent this amazing time.
Mhm.
And then you have to drop him off and you go home.
Mhm.
And then all we see is that you are so distraught and so sad when you're home. And you just look at it like in such sadness. I was like, but you could possibly turn it around and say, man, I had the best time with my son. This was such an amazing, great day. Instead of doing that, though, it's the other way.
Yeah.
So is that natural? Is that just where you go immediately, or is it too difficult for you to think that way, or do you not want to? How does that work?
I think the optimism that you wish that person would search for is overshadowed by guilt and guilt is a very motivating factor with bipolar disorder.
Okay.
It's extreme. So a lot of that is just guilt.
Guilt that you are now not with him, or
Right.
that you're not doing enough, or
That I'm
all
not
of
with
it.
him, that I didn't do enough, that I failed as a husband, that I failed as a father, that I failed at so many things.
I guess that's what you're thinking about.
Yeah.
Then. Yeah.
Mhm.
And run by fear. You know, my whole life has been ruled by fear.
Fear of.
Everything. Just primarily fear of abandonment. So in that moment, it's like, am I doing that to him?
Oh.
So there's more guilt there. And one thing that I recently learned from my therapist that told me not to be a dick is that fear is the antithesis of love, and they cannot coexist. So to your point, I'm working on turning that around and loving well instead of being ruled by fear.
I think that would be so helpful for you.
Yeah, I think so too.
Really.
Trying.
I just really would love for you, who you are. I mean, you're such a sweet person. I can see it. You're like a little kid that never grew up.
That's what my
I
wife
see.
says. That's why she left me. Like a fucking kid.
Aw. But I mean,
It's good. It's good though. I think.
I mean, that's what I
love
see.
that.
I mean, right. But I think with that, if you could just turn that part around
Yeah.
and not think negative, and every negative thought turn it into positive, if that's at all possible when you have
I'm working on it.
bipolar,
Yeah.
I think it could just make such a difference with everything in your life.
And there's so much more that I'm learning about it now
Right.
that I didn't know when I made this film, that, you know, the drugs themselves are chemicals, and all they can do is react with chemicals in the brain. That's all they do.
Mhm.
They don't know what the fuck a behavior is.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, they don't know what a thought is. They have nothing to do with that. So you take the chemicals to stabilize the chemicals so that you can process thoughts and you can change behaviors. And so when you change the behaviors and you turn that pessimism into optimism, you also change the heart.
Right.
That's what it's about.
Right.
And
When you're
that's not
learning
what I
that
was
now.
doing here. Right.
Mhm.
Which is amazing, but crazy at the same time.
Yeah.
With being how long that has.
Yeah.
What a long
Fucking
process.
middle age and just now figuring that out. What the hell?
That's okay. That's what we're always learning. Now, in the movie, friend asks you if you're gonna kill yourself.
Mhm.
In real life, have people asked you that?
You can't kill this. It's like steel.
That's what you say.
I think the only people that have actually asked me if I was going to kill myself is my psychiatrist. I don't think anyone outside of a professional setting has asked me if I was going to do that. I think they're afraid to.
Even your wife.
Yeah, she never
No.
asked. Yeah. And in this latest thing, as far down as I was, you know, I told her this. I said, you know, I wouldn't do this to my kids,
Mm-hmm.
but if I didn't have my kids, I think I would.
Wow.
And she said, well, that's a very selfish thing to do, which is not the right not the right reaction to give somebody with bipolar disorder, because it just furthers the guilt.
Yeah.
Which just cocks the fucking trigger, you know.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, there's another side of that whole relationship thing that I don't think that there was a same page around that.
Mm-hmm.
And how the hell we made it 11 years without that, I don't know.
You mean like an understanding of what you're going through?
Yeah,
Same
not from a
page?
selfish perspective either. It's not that I was ever. I was never. This is all about me. You've got to understand where I'm coming. It was never that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I don't think there was any research done.
Okay.
Mm.
Because one of the first things you would read is not to say how incredibly fucking selfish you are if you're thinking about killing yourself.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, thank God you have kids.
right.
Yeah.
Now, when you take the pretty blonde home
Mhm.
and then you tell her that you're bipolar and she tells you not to take the pills and throw out the pills and all that basically is a fast track to disaster.
Yeah.
Are you protected against that now? Would that, like, say, I don't know, in today you go out and you meet some
hot chick and I take her home.
Some hot chick and
if I had that kind of game now, 10 years later, right?
Would you just, because that's part of that disorder, like would you just go, you know what? Yeah, forget all that.
No,
Forget
I mean
all
I'd take the chick home. That'd be cool.
that.
But I already did that and I saw where it ended up. So,
So that is still, you remember that, and now you know you wouldn't do that again.
Yeah, some of these lessons are a little too hard not to forget because of how hard they impacted me. In particular, lost a second marriage. And when I hit that depression that was so bad, I stopped taking my medication.
Okay.
And I hadn't been medicated for 8 months. No one knew.
No one knew that you
No one
didn't
knew.
take it?
No one knew. So I'm that good at wearing a mask.
Wow.
Not even your therapist.
I wasn't seeing her yet.
Mm.
Yeah. So it's up to me to take it because that's what could happen if I don't.
Right.
Good stuff.
I mean, it's just
That's just real life
very
stuff.
real life stuff. Yeah.
There's so many people who are not as open and honest as you are,
Yeah. You're
and don't talk about it, or are afraid to talk about it, or
Yeah.
So it's
And, I mean, part of that too is as uncomfortable as it does get for me to talk about it. I also know that there are people that need to hear about it, and it's not that I'm trying to make myself a martyr or anything, but if people can hear my story and understand themselves better, or understand what not to do, or how to better navigate what shit they're going through, that's why I share the stories, because I know there's somebody out there that needs to hear it.
I agree with you.
And sometimes I sit here and talk, and I'm like, I wonder how bored the people are listening to this right now, because I get a little clinical. It's like, oh shit.
I don't think so.
So if you're bored, I'm really sorry.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I
I
don't
think
either.
it's eye-opening, and I'm really surprised how honest you are and how you really go, okay, my therapist calls me a dick, so I can do whatever. Man, I would have. No, I'm kidding. So when do you tend to get in relationships where the girls are obsessive? Also, like that scene where you are on a business trip and then she calls constantly, and then you come home and she's packing and leaving, and because that's obsessive behavior. Is that something you're attracted to?
Well, I don't know. I'm attracted to this, but I tend to attract that. I either attract obsessive or I attract emotionally unavailable. There's never really a nice balance mix. It's one or the other. It's I've attracted my share of very obsessive psycho women, and I've attracted my fair share of emotionally unavailable, just like my mother, women.
Do you tend to become obsessive?
Yeah. And emotionally unavailable.
Well, there you go.
There you go. Yeah.
Both in one relationship or either or?
Both. Yeah.
So it goes like,
I've got mixed episodes.
He was calling me so much last week, and now he doesn't give a shit.
Right.
I can't find him.
Sorry. The line near the end when the psychiatrist says, forgiveness isn't about someone coming along and saying, I'm sorry, and you accepting it. Forgiveness is about no longer allowing yourself to be a victim.
Right.
And that's verbatim what my doctor said to me. So that
have you been able to do that?
I'm working on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, some are harder than others.
Right.
I've been able to do it for many, but there's a couple that,
Oh, for sure.
I think that's a
take
good
while.
lesson for everyone.
Yeah.
I loved that.
That's why I want to point it out, because I think it's really important. It's very strong and empowering as well. It's not, forgiveness it has nothing to do with the other person. It has everything to do with you, your outlook, right? You can either be negative or you can be positive. And if you refuse to be a victim, well, then what does that make you? It makes you empowered.
Yeah.
So if you can get there, then you've got forgiveness.
Right. And then you can look at things positive.
Yeah,
too.
you can open the fucking blinds.
Yeah. Exactly. In the movie, you show that you got that successful, huge account, and then you ask the girl to marry you. You look so happy, and it's also so spontaneous, and the big engagement party and all that.
That was so fun to shoot.
I bet. Jumping in the pool, I would have killed
This is
you. Oh my
fucking
God.
awesome.
Yeah, no.
I was like,
Yeah, no.
I would not. I'd be pissed.
Oh.
oh my God, yeah. Whitney probably would like
I'm
it.
like, I'd probably push Gino in and he'd
Yeah.
get mad.
And then it shows you in the garage on the floor.
Mhm.
Explain that.
So a lot
Oh
of
wait, and sorry, in the dream where she is like stabbing you with a knife, like
Yeah.
all
Oh,
that.
yeah.
That I was like, whoa, I am
Yeah.
so confused.
So a lot of times, obviously, a lot of that has to do with the mania creeping in and taking over, and him not recognizing it. And a lot of times, whenever I would lose control and would get really manic, I'd have blackout spells, and weird dreams too. And this morphing or blurring of reality from dreams, and wake up from a dream thinking I was in reality, or being in a situation where I thought I was dreaming, and that kind of thing. The engagement party, and then they jump at the pool and she shoves him underwater, and then all of a sudden he wakes up in the garage. Well, because the mania got so high after that moment, just fucking dove into the pool with the girl. I mean, he's off the charts right now, right? And then what we see happens when they get out of the pool, he's up there and he's just, he doesn't remember any of that shit. So suddenly he's in the garage because they just got in this fight and he doesn't remember. And I've had that
Because
too,
he
where
looked
I've
at the girl a certain
right,
way.
right. But I've had that too, where I have opened my eyes in my truck and wondered how the fuck I got out here. And then as I retraced the steps, there was a fight or whatever that was, and I know just enough about the events previous that I can kind of put it together, but I don't have step by step of what happened.
That has to be very stressful.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what's even more stressful is after the premiere came out, one of my friends came up to me and he was like, well, that explained a lot.
No.
And I was like, oh, thanks. And he said, I think maybe it's time we talk about that thing we never talked about. I was like,
What?
well, maybe we never talked about it because I have no idea what you're talking about. And he told me about this one night when we were out partying and I got mad and blew up, and I have absolutely no recollection of it at all. None.
Oh.
And then another friend of mine was talking to me about how for a month I was on his ass about trying to help me get a job at this place I have no business working at, like U.S. government stuff. Like, gave him my resume. I'd call him every fucking day to ask if he'd turn my resume in. And when he stopped taking my calls every day, I'd call him every week. And this went on for like 2 months. I don't remember any of that. None of it. That's really frustrating.
Oh my goodness.
And you're kind of like, how did I act? What did I say?
Yeah. Well, yeah. It was what did I do?
Yeah.
So then Jessica freaks out, throws a glass.
That was classic, by the way. Just
Oh.
she did hit me in the head on one of the takes. Hit me right there in the
Oh my
freaking forehead. We laughed our asses off.
That's
And then you hit your own head. I freaked out. I was like, whoa, oh my gosh. That was hard. Did you really?
No.
Oh my God. And then she says that you're a jerk and you're mean to her. And then you make up again.
Yeah.
And
Have hot steamy sex. Sounds great.
Did that happen?
No, well, not with the movie. And actually, my wife was upstairs working from home when we shot that scene.
Oh, nice.
I told her everything that we were doing. She seemed cool about it. I don't know. Maybe she wasn't after all.
Yeah, right. Maybe you should ask.
No, but that's even worse.
Oh,
Yeah.
wait, what?
Fuck.
Maybe you should what?
Not ask.
Not ask. Oh.
So when she sees it on the film in front of the fucking
I'm
theater for the
kidding.
first time.
I'm just kidding. Then you want to stop drinking and take your pills, but of course she discourages you to do that because she needs her drinking buddy, which is probably the worst thing for you to do.
It's just, it was just a great illustration of a toxic relationship. You know, I mean, you can't get much more toxic than that.
No. Then you have that scene with the doctor where he had a bipolar patient that killed himself.
Yeah, herself.
Herself. That's right. Sorry, I corrected that.
She accused him, or she was going to accuse him of having an affair.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that true?
No.
Oh.
I have good imagination
Yeah,
too.
no, that's good. That's why I like to ask.
There's real life shit and there's my imagination.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
like it.
But then this is great because the doctor basically real life, like what you said now, is calling you a pain in the ass
Yeah.
and that you're dangerous and you don't take your condition serious
Yeah.
and that's dangerous.
Don't be a dick.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Then it shows that the whole thing of where you lose the account and you are missing basically for a whole week
Yeah.
and you don't remember anything of that. Does that happen?
Right, like bits and pieces, like that drive scene on the Vegas
Yeah.
Strip and
Yeah.
some poker and whatever. In the implied threesome, you remember bits and pieces,
Mhm.
like little glimpses of these things that happen, and you're like, oh, I must have fucked 2 chicks or something.
So in a whole week goes by, and that can happen where you just remember little things, but you don't remember not going to work.
Right. Or he just chose not to go to work. Didn't remember that he chose that.
Wow.
I've had a friend of mine who has bipolar disorder who ended up in Vegas in jail because he went and emptied his account, went to Vegas to gamble, and I think he got caught doing. I don't know if he got caught trying to. Oh, he tried to pull more money out of someone else's account, and got caught. And by the time that he came to and was conscious enough to understand what was going on, he was in jail, and he didn't remember doing any other shit.
Oh, wow.
So-
He only said that he did this because that's what he was told by the cops.
And this is all sober.
I think he was sober.
That's what I mean.
My
It's
shit
like your
wasn't, but-
brain like does things like that
Yeah.
without.
So
Well,
scary.
yeah, because whenever like the job thing, when I was asking my friend to help me get a job, I was sober. I mean, I'm
Right.
not drinking every day.
Right. Right.
Wow.
Crazy.
So and then you come home and you see your best friend in the shower with Jessica,
Yeah,
but that didn't happen in real life.
no, not that I know of. I mean, I never walked in on them, but I think somebody would be dead if I'd walked in.
I know. I was
Right.
like, oh. And then there's
wouldn't
the
be
wire.
me.
There's the wire hanger again.
Mm-hmm.
Then you get the bar drinking, and then there's really huge manic scene
Yeah,
outside,
And
beating yourself up.
that song.
That was you
Yeah. That was
singing
me.
it. Oh my gosh, that's cool.
Now, have you beat yourself up before? Really?
Yeah,
Really?
Yeah.
Like punching yourself, like Fight Club.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Stop.
So the episode I talked about, I think it was in our previous episode in 2007 when I had that massive psychotic break. That's what I was doing, was punching myself in the face. I had a big black eye. I smashed my head into, it wasn't a mirror, it was a picture frame. And then to get myself to stop because I knew I was scaring this other person so much.
Other person.
Yeah.
Who was
So
there?
so it was my girlfriend at the time. So the thing about my condition is I don't hurt anyone else, and in order not to, I hurt myself.
And
Does that make sense?
That was very clear.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
That-
so
I
that's
mean, for
why
me.
all that. So in order to stop myself from scaring her any further, what little logic I still had, I slammed my head into the bathtub to where I couldn't get up after it. So
And that's
I didn't
something
go
that
unconscious,
happened?
but yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I went to work, whatever, Monday with a fucking
Bruises
black
everywhere.
eye. And yeah.
Gosh.
Did your girlfriend beat you up?
Wow.
That particular fight, what caused it? Like, what causes a big fight like that? Do you remember?
No, I was drinking a lot that day. And I don't know what the fight was about. I don't know.
I don't even know. But
Mhm.
do you remember that part? If obviously it got so bad, what'd she do?
She left.
Y'all stay together after that.
No.
I mean,
I think she had enough of it.
yeah.
And my after that, I was talking to a different therapist. You go through a lot of different therapists when you go through this shit. The one thing that she said that really stood out to me, apparently not enough, was that this disease destroys relationships, period. And I guess I didn't learn that lesson enough until now.
Yeah, because I think when someone doesn't have the disorder, those things are very, I'm sure they're scary.
They're heavy. Yeah.
And what you're working on now, what you're gonna master, looking only at positive things.
She's like being
You
mom to
will.
me now.
Yeah, I know. It's usually
Are you
how
gonna
it
call and
goes.
check up on me?
Probably.
Jason,
Yes.
are your blinds open?
No, but that's all very important, I
Yeah.
think, because, you know, if someone falls in love with you, I mean, those things probably tear that whole thing down. I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's hard on relationships. Relationships are hard anyways, but
And
then
I've always been told I'm a very intense person to begin with, so I'm a lot to handle.
well, everybody's a lot to handle.
Yeah, but I'm like a lot to fucking handle.
Well, you're working on it. That's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even when I'm nice or feeling good, positive, there's still an intensity behind that is higher than others.
Really?
Yeah.
So the doctor
Made a fucking movie.
Yeah, that's true. You didn't just make it; you acted in it. You wrote the music.
Yeah, I mean
It's,
that's
all
what
of
like.
it.
There was so much hyper focus that went into this thing that I don't think most people could do. And you know, that's not a pat myself on the back kind of thing. That's a holy fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
right.
stuff I did on this, and then looking back and understanding how I did it is crazy. It like in writing it, just writing it.
Mhm.
30 Seconds to Mars, This Is War album that just come out, and I listened to it
am obsessed with him.
on repeat
Yeah.
when I wrote the entire movie, except for the climax, and then I put in 9 Inch Nails' Downward Spiral. Those were the only two things I listened to while I wrote this entire movie, and I was so focused. And I remember this was cool. I remember writing the climax and Downward Spiral. It was just, I mean, I had my headphones on. It was cranked up, and I'm just sitting there typing, and I'm hyper focused, and I'm in it.
Yeah.
And I finished, and I was like, all right, that's great. I take off the headphones, I stand up, and I got so dizzy, I almost fell over.
my God.
Because it was so intense
Intense.
and hit me so hard, and I'm feeling all these things, and I'm writing that thing about Jessica and Steve, and I'm seeing it in my head, and my heart starts pounding, and I'm you know, feeling that rejection, that abandonment. I'm feeling that, and it was fucking crazy. But, I mean, it was cool.
That's amazing. That's why you are such a good actor too.
Yeah.
The doctor says, take control of your life. Well, otherwise you will continue to mess up your life.
Mhm.
Take your medication, and then all of a sudden you stop drinking. You take the medication, and then that is when you make that poster, that picture of the butterfly.
Yeah.
I love that too. Really.
I
It's
know.
really
So
cool.
cool.
Yeah. And I saw that there's posters. You can actually buy that.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Thanks.
Would you tell everyone how you did it? Because you told.
Oh
earlier.
yeah. I forgot we weren't on. So I wanted this idea of extreme opposites, and I thought it'd be kind of cool if I could take something that was beautiful and make it not really ugly, but distorted with ink drops, and do kind of a Rorschach.
What? I was gonna ask
Yeah.
if that's what that was. Yeah.
So one half is the Rorschach, or however the hell you say his name, and the other side is the actual beautiful image itself. And so I thought, well, I mean, metamorphosis, evolution, the butterfly makes sense. So I got this nice picture of a butterfly, and I cut it in half to use on the beautiful side. And then I started doing these ink drop samples and exercises. I must, well, you see them in the movie. I did like, I don't know, 20 of them. And I got enough of them that I really liked. I scanned in several of them, and then I composited them in Photoshop and made them look, you know, correct, and joined the two together to make that one side the beautiful butterfly, and the other side is the distorted Rorschach image of this ink drop butterfly, so that they're the same thing, but you see that they're extreme opposites of what they are, but together they are that whole thing. And then underneath it, you know, to reflect that idea, I wrote "Life is beautiful," and then I duplicated it upside down to make it say "Life is disdainful." So if you hold it in a mirror, you'll actually be able to see it.
That's
But
cool.
it describes this disorder so much.
Yeah.
I mean,
Mhm.
it's unbelievable. Very, very, very cool. Then we see you with your ex-wife in your doctor's office, and she says, "You're such a good dad, but you're not good to anyone when you're sick."
Yeah.
So that's, I mean, really.
She's like, listen to your ex-wife. Open the blinds.
And then open the blinds. I want to be normal. That's what you say. And the normal and abnormal BS, all just words.
Yeah.
And you say you have nothing, but then you have your life and you have your son.
Yeah.
And 2 sons.
Right.
So you have a lot.
Yeah.
You're such an amazing guest, and you have so many things
Thank you.
are amazing about you. Can you give us your social media handles?
So on Twitter, I'm the Jason B. B-E-E. The E's are silent. Remember that? And on Facebook, it's Donovan the Movie, and also donovanthemovie.com website. You can get digital download, the DVD, the posters, the soundtrack, and you can hear my amazing shit on there.
Yes. Everyone go watch that movie. It was really great.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so
Thank you so much for being here.